You're welcome back to the channel today. I'll be teaching you all a step-by-step process on how to go about the sewing of this bustier blouse, which has a sweetheart neckline with a back waistline. It also has two puff sleeves. So this tutorial is basically focused on how to achieve a perfectly strong standing cup area or bust area on your bustier in such a way that it doesn't fall at the end of the day when you are done sewing. It is a 100% beginners friendly tutorial. Trust me on that. And if you watch this video to the very end, it's never going to be a thing of regret. So with that much being said, let's get started. Don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and also comment. The detailed drafting part of this tutorial has been uploaded on the channel. In case you are yet to see that out, here is the thumbnail on the screen, and the link to that tutorial will be pinned in my description box as well. So after cutting out on my pattern paper, I went on ahead to transfer my pattern paper to my fabric. You can see all the sides where I added my sewing or my stitching allowance. For my center front, which is this smallest part I have right here in the middle, you can see that at the top part right there, I added half of an inch together with this other part all the way to the very base. I added half of an inch all around. For my side front, you can see all the points I'm showing right here. I added half of an inch. But for that top part, I added 3/4 of an inch allowance, as you can see right there. On the back area, I added half of an inch, and that is it for the front. So for the back, you can see the top part here, I added 3/4 of an inch. At the base, I added 3/4 of an inch as well. I didn't add anything to the zipper allowance, to the armhole, and to the sides. The sides, because I already added my sewing allowance when I was drafting. So it is advisable you also notch your dart on your fabric. Another thing you need to take note of is to notch each line. For that first line, which is right there, is my chest line, I notched it. This second one is my bust point, I notched it. I notched my under bust, I notched my half length, I notched my top length. For the side front, I also repeated the same thing. I notched the length of my blouse, my half length, my under bust line, my bust point, and also my chest line. For the back, I didn't really pay attention to the notching aspect because it's the front that is carrying the cup part of our blouse, right? So I will start joining now, but firstly I will have to remove my pattern paper from my fabric. Remember that you are supposed to iron your stay to the wrong side of your fabric. Now for the center front, if you want it to be very strong or stable, you can go on ahead and triple your stay to your fabric. Okay, like mine, I just doubled my ironing. Then I went on ahead to iron my breast pad or my wording to the front piece of this my blouse. I'll be dropping a separate tutorial on that in case you don't know how to go about it. So I'll be getting one side of the side front and I'll be pinning it right sides facing each other with this part of the center front. Now pay proper attention. I'm pinning just from the bust point all the way to the base. Okay, I'm not going to be stitching the upper part now. From the under bust, I'm pinning all the way to the base, and now I'm marking half of an inch from the base upward, and I'll stop exactly on the under bust. When you pin, make sure that all your notches are aligning together. Everything I did for my main fabric, I did it for my lining piece as well. So you can see what my lining piece looks like. So I'm going to be proceeding now to finish up for my main fabric. So for the main fabric, you're just going to be joining the two side fronts to the center front and stop exactly on the under bust as earlier stated. So when I was done with that, now I'll start pinning from the under bust upward. Okay, so when you do your bustier like this, it's going to be sitting perfectly and it will be fully cupped. So I also gave some of the important tips you are supposed to learn while drafting your bustier in this drafting part of the tutorial, so it's really advisable you watch it out. So from the other bust now, I'm pinning all the way to the very top part of this my dress. From there as well, from which is the under bust, I'm going to be marking half of an inch all the way to the top part. So I'm just going to stitch exactly the same way I have marked this right here at both sides. When I was done stitching, I went on ahead to iron my seam up. So if you don't have a steam iron, you can actually sprinkle water the manual way. Just sprinkle water, open up your seam and iron it open, as you can see I'm doing right here. So I used this piece of cloth to cover my wooden pad because this my iron is quite rusty, and as well it burns clothes very fast or fabrics very fast. So this is what I continue doing. So when you get to the underbust part, that is where you're now going to be removing your tailor's arm. Then go on ahead to continue sprinkling water on your seam while it's open, and go on ahead to iron. So you can see what it looks like. When you're done with that, flip it to the right side as well. Go on ahead and continue ironing, especially on that bust area. So when I'm done ironing on that bust area, I will remove my tailor's arm. Then I'll focus majorly on that bust area. You can see what I'm doing right there. So you can see how cupped this is looking. You see, I didn't really double pad this, but you can see how padded and how fully cupped is looking. When you're done with that, you can go on ahead to cut out the excess um allowance or the seam you have right here. It's all about preference. And after that, you can also decide to use an stay to cover your seam, whichever one you want to do. But if you still want to leave it like that, it's okay. But most times it's advisable you trim off this allowance we have right here, so that your cup will look very balanced and not so bulky. Okay, so you can just go on ahead to do that, and now iron your stay as well to make it flatter. But I don't always use my stay to make mine flatter because I'm okay with it like this. So I want you all to also remember that I stated that whatever I'm doing to my fabric, I'm also doing to my lining piece. This is the wrong side, and here's what it looks like. As you can see how nice it's looking already. I did iron my stay to the very end, but you can do same to yours as well. So I'll be working for the back part now. I'll be removing my pattern paper for my back dress, and all I'm just going to be doing is to be stitching my dart. Okay, so I'll be taking in my dart. Remember, my dart is 1 inch, so at both sides I'll be taking half of an inch like this. Then I'll stitch it up. Whatever I'm doing for my fabric, like I said earlier, I'm doing for my lining piece. Aside the padding, I did not pad my lining piece. So when you are done stitching your dart, go on ahead and bring the front part of your dress. On the armhole, you're just going to start pinning and aligning the front part and the back part of your dress at the sides. So you go on ahead to pin it together. So now I'm done pinning. I'm simply going to be marking my sewing allowance. So my sewing allowance is 1.5 inches. 1.5 inches, I'll be marking all the way from the armhole to the base of this my top. So what I'm doing for this side of my dress, I'll be doing for this other side as well, because I want to be doing a total turn up. So I'm joining fabric to fabric and lining to line. Calm down, don't get confused. I'll be doing everything right here on the video. So I've joined all my fabrics together at the side, and I also did the same thing for my lining. I joined all my lining piece together at the sides as well, and it came out like this as well. So this is the right side of my fabric facing the camera. All I'm simply going to do is to also bring my lining piece the same way I joined this, and I'm going to be placing it right sides facing each other. So you can see this stay is on the wrong side of my lining piece. So I got that middle point, which is a sweetheart neckline point, that middle there. I made sure that it's aligned with that of the middle part on my fabric. Then from there, I'll start pinning. You are going to pin all around this blouse right here. And when I'm done with that, that is when I'll start marking the inches which I'll be using to stitch this. And don't forget to also open your seam, your side seam, as I'm doing right here, where you're pinning for the base. Okay. And another thing I want to tell you all is that while you are pinning or stitching, make sure that you stitch your hemming gum at once. Okay. So for that top part of my dress, I'm stitching using half of an inch. You can see I started from the middle, I marked it to that point. For the back, I'll do the same thing, but for the zipper part, I'll be stitching using just quarter of an inch. For the base, I'll also be stitching using just half of an inch. As you can see, I'm marking it right here. So when I get to that joint I have at the side, it was slightly difficult. So all I did was to cut off the excess I have right there so that it can align with the base of this my dress. Then I went on ahead to also mark half of an inch. So I'll stitch from the middle to one side, then from the middle to the other side. When you're done with that, go on ahead and make notches all around, like from the top part all the way to the base or the bottom part. And please, I will say again, as you are stitching this on that half of an inch, ensure that you are stitching it with your hemming gum. It skipped my mind earlier, okay? So if you do that with your hemming gum, it's going to come out really flat and nice when you're done ironing. So this is what I have. I turned everything out from the armhole to the right side. So because I didn't stitch my hemming gum together with my lining piece while I was stitching them together, I just had to push my hemming gum from the armhole to that neckline area so that it can relax. So that is the essence of actually stitching your hemming gum together with your lining and your fabric when you are joining them together. Imagine I did it for the base. Once I iron this, it's going to be very flat and very stable. So please don't skip the part of your hemming gum just the same way I did, okay? So give this a very good press. Make sure you bring out all the edges. Iron it very well. You can sprinkle water and iron this properly if you're working with a very stubborn fabric. So I took my time and did all of this. And at the end of the day, this is what I have. You can see how beautiful this is looking already. At this point, I even wish that it was loops I was attaching to this beautiful dress. So that is it for the front part of our dress. We are done. We'll be focusing now on the sleeve part. So it's two, the sleeve is two, but I'll be working with one first. So all I did that at the top part of this my sleeve, I folded in 3/4 of an inch. Okay, remember when I was cutting it in the first part of the tutorial, that was the allowance that was given. So from that 3/4 of an inch, I folded in 1/4 of an inch. Then fold it like this and just stitch at the tip because a channel must be created where the elastic will be fixing to this sleeve will be passed through. Also do the same thing for the base of this sleeve. Okay, I folded it 3/4 of an inch. Then from there I folded in 1/4 of an inch and I stitched it straight down. So when I was done with all of that, I'll get my elastic. So this elastic, I'll be passing through this channel I've created at the top part of this my sleeve and also at the base. You can use a safety pin to actually clip your elastic before you pass it through, or you can use whichever material or item that is close to you that can do this work for you. Just make sure that you pass your elastic through this channel right here. So when it comes out to this other side, I'm just simply going to be using my affix pin to pin this down. Then I'm going to be stretching this other part. So here comes the work. If you make your elastic or your stretch too tight, at the end of the day, this elastic is going to suck the blood out of your body. What I mean is basically it's going to be very tight. So just make sure that it's not tight and it's not loose. Let it just be normal and also work with a very good elastic. So when I was done with that, I pinned the other end and cut off the excess. Now for the base of this my sleeve, I'll repeat the same pattern which I used for the top part. Pass through my elastic, pin, secure one end using my pin. I will now try to pull my elastic and my fabric. When I get my desired stretchiness, I pin and cut off the excesses. So when I'm done with that, make sure you secure both each end of those parts you pinned. Make sure you interlock it on your sewing machine, okay, or you double stitch it on your sewing machine. When you must have done that, now we are going to be bringing your sleeve together like this, right sides facing each other. And I just measured the armhole. What I have right there is 5.5 inches. And then I'll also measure the armhole of my dress. What I have here is 8 inches. So 5.5 inches for the two armhole is now 11 inches, and the armhole for my dress is 8 inches. This basically means that I'll be stitching the armhole from there using 1.5 inches. For the both sleeve now is 3 inches, okay? So I'll be using 1.5 inches now to stitch this all the way to the very end. Remember, this is done on the wrong side of my fabric. I'm done stitching that. You can see what I have right now. So this remaining armhole I have is perfectly going to be fitting in to the armhole of my dress. So you can see I've already fixed one behind the camera. This other one I'll fix, we'll be doing it together. So just turn your sleeve to the right side of your fabric, spread out the armhole and also your seam. Make sure that the middle of your sleeve, the part you stitch, and the joints on your armhole for the blouse aligns. Then right sides facing each other, you're going to be pinning these together for the back and for the front. As you can see what I am doing right here so far. When you're done with that, just go on ahead now to stitch it just like this. Okay, and you have a very neat sewing that doesn't have any joints inside, any visible joining inside. So that is it. When I was done, you can see what I have. So you can proceed to pipe your armhole, or you can decide to weave your armhole. The next thing is just to fix our zipper to the back part of this our dress. Remember that while we were joining our fabric and lining together on the zipper, we use quarter of an inch, thereby reducing the wideness of the zipper allowance we gave earlier. So because of this, instead of using or maintaining 1 inch as our zipper allowance, I will be using 3/4 of an inch, because we've already used quarter of an inch to join the fabric and the lining piece together. So I went up by just half of an inch now, and now started marking my zipper allowance. So I'm going to be pinning this from the base all the way to the top part, and now finish it up at the end of the day. So that is basically how to go about this beautiful top. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. Thank you all so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to